Hey boos and babes, welcome back to the bar with Mari. Today we are in the kitchen again and we are making lamb chops with a balsamic glaze. First and foremost, I am unwrapping my lamb chops. I bought a pound of lamb chops from a meat market out here. Excuse the fireworks in the back. It's late at night, so you already know what's going on. Yeah, I bought a pound of lamb chops from a meat market out here, and I'm putting them on paper towel on a paper plate to just soak up some of that moisture before I put them into my pan. So the lamb chops are very, very simple. I mean, if you know how you like your meat cooks. So when I cook things myself, like when I cook red meat myself, I normally go for a medium well. And it's just all dependent on how long you put them in the pan for. But it's a pretty simple process. I don't know what I'm doing right here, but we know we just staring at these lamb chops. But yeah, you just pat them dry to get all the moisture off because you want them to have a beautiful sear when you put them. I used a cast iron skillet. So that's probably what I was doing in that pause, was just kind of putting oil into the pan and heating it up so that I could season my chops and, get them together. So you see there's like a very thick layer of fat there. We're going to cut that off, and what I try to do is cut as close to the meat on the bone as possible. But I do still like to leave a little bit of fat because I love the way that I sear them. I sear them very hard on the outside, and I love when that those thin pockets of fat have that really crispy char on them, and they mix with your meat. It's just, listen, amazing. So that's what I'm doing right now. It's just trimming the fat because literally, look at that. So fat. No pun intended. But yeah, so there we go. All right, so I am done cutting off the fat here, trimming the fat rather. So we're going to use a really generous amount of seasoning to season my chops. So I like to use garlic salt and black pepper. You can use any sort of like coarse salt, like sea salt, anything like that, pink Himalayan salt, whatever you choose, like just a generous amount, because when you put it in the pan on that high heat, it's going to cook some of that flavor off. And then when you add your butter to baste it, definitely got to cook some of that flavor off. So you want to make sure that you're using a nice amount of seasoning when you're seasoning your chops. And I'm just using it on a paper plate because it's just easier. And I know it's a little bit out of frame. The angle that I'm standing at is just a little off, but just know that you're seasoning your chops. I'm gonna get better with my filming skills, but just know that you need to season your chops. And before we move on, one thing I forgot to say about seasoning your chops is that you want to get like seasoning all over. So the sides, the back, the front, like all of it, because we're gonna sear all of that and seal that flavor in. So we've got our meat seasoned. We're gonna put it in this cast iron skillet. It's on high heat. I put a little bit of vegetable oil in the pan just for some lubrication, of course. I'm not the best person to explain how to cook red meat. It's essentially like cooking a steak. For me, I just go by the bottom of the chop. So like when I see the brown start to kind of rise through, if that makes sense, then I know it's time to flip. Like I can see it browning, starting to brown on the sides just from searing on the bottom, then I know it's time to flip. But normally it's about like 5 to 6 minutes. And I'm also learning how to work a gas stove, so it's just really weird. But this is how I do it. And yeah, so we're going to sear those, and then once they're ready, we'll flip them, and then we're going to flip them on all sides because we want that those fat deposits to kind of sear and kind of liquefy, but they're going to still have that crispy edge. It's going to be great. All right, so we flipped all three of our chops, and you see how they have just that beautiful brown sear. So those fatty parts of the chop have that like crispy golden brown. You love to see it. I'm promising you it's going to be so good. So if you look on the chop farthest to the left, or the on the left, it still has like a lot of redness there. So I'm just letting it sear until it's that crispy brown on both sides. And then we're going to do the sides like I said before. So our chops are off the stove and they're resting for a little bit while we make this glaze. Normally I make this in the pan, but just for the sake of things, I'm going to show you guys how to make it on the side and we'll just pour it in. So you're going to take half a cup of balsamic vinegar, which I love. As you can see, I use this a lot. You can make vinaigrettes. I just made like a balsamic chicken lettuce wrap last week. It was pretty great. So next I'm gonna add some seasonings, some garlic salt. We're gonna be adding garlic to this. So you know, I love garlic salt. Never hurt nobody. I love it. It's my favorite. Now we're gonna add black pepper. Yeah, black pepper. And this gives it like a saltiness, but we're also going to be adding a little bit more to make it sweet. So you don't have to use minced garlic in this. It's not necessary, but I like to add minced garlic because it just adds a little bit of an umph to it. Normally I would add fresh, but minced is also perfect for this because it's already minced up for you. You don't have to chop it and make it like really small. Even though I got my food processor now, you know, I don't have them problems. But yeah, so I've gotten this, and like I said, I'm gonna make this a sweet sauce or a sweet glaze. So we're gonna add some brown sugar here. Now, with this, the cool part about it is that you can taste it yourself to see exactly what you want in your glaze. I like mine to be a bit more sweet to combat the saltiness, the natural saltiness. Lamb is already a powerful flavor of meat, or has a powerful flavor in its meat. So you want to do things that are going to complement it, and this balsamic glaze is definitely one of them. So in this case, I added like, we'll say a fourth of a cup of brown sugar. And then I'm going to taste it here. And I determined that it needs to be a little bit more sweet. So I added like another fourth. So like about just under half a cup of brown sugar for your glaze. And then you're going to mix it and boom, you're dynamite. So I probably should have told you to save the drippings from your lamb chops because you're going to mix in your glaze with this. It's going to add so much more flavor to your glaze. Like, it's amazing. All right, so we're just whisking away. We're mixing in all our ingredients here along with those drippings from the lamb chops. And it's going to just give it a really, really great flavor. So now we're going to put our lamb chops back in. I adjusted the heat to low. And I just put my lamb chops back in, sorry. And we're just going to flip them once they're coated on each side. And there we have it, our final products. So I left them in the glaze for about 5 minutes on both sides. And I'm serving them with roasted potatoes, sweet potatoes, and sauteed spinach. Make this ASAP. I promise you, it's so worth it. The glaze is to die for. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. Deuces.